Zadandani, Electroninja here, and welcome back to Electroninja's Lab. In today's video, we are going to be discussing, well, the Aceio language and alphabet. Now, I won't be going over too many details, mostly due to the fact that a lot of this will be explained in the future. However, I do want to at least tackle some of the important information about the Aceio language as well as the Aceio alphabet. Both of these are the main language that is spoken by almost every single character in the Sting's Adventures books, as well as other books, but that's beside the point. So, what exactly is the Aceio language? Basically, what happens when somebody is speaking the Aceio language is that the language will naturally translate to whatever language the person, whoever if you're speaking Aceio, whoever you're talking to will hear whatever language they are most familiar with. Usually this will be their first language. So for example, most of you guys would probably hear, if I was talking in Aceio, what you guys would mostly be hearing is English. However, of course, there are some of you that would hear Spanish, some that Japanese, so on and so forth. And that's basically how the language works. One of the reasons why it is one of the most amazing languages in the universe. There are some times when somebody can choose whether or not they want to speak in Aceio so that only people who speak Aceio can understand them, but most of the time they won't actually do this. Because almost everyone in the entire universe speaks Aceio except for people of Earth on almost any of the galaxies in any of the universes. So that's an important thing to understand. Now, the Aceio language does have a few words, though, that do not translate immediately, such as the elemental words. So Ernon, Lernon, Fernon, Zernon, Gurnon, Jurnon, Hernon, Sha, and Durnon. I believe that was all nine of them, as well as, of course, Ernon, which is the word for element. These words do not translate when spoken to somebody, primarily because of the fact that these words are power words. Other words do have similar features, such as fala, which means sleep. However, this is only used, it only does this when it's used as a spell. People will hear fala when they're trying to make somebody fall asleep. There are a few other words, such as names. Names, if a name is from Aceio, it will not translate, such as the words Zonderlikundrik. This was originally a name, and that will be in a future book culture on who was Zonderlikundrik. And the same goes for creatures, for the elemental beasts. Many of them actually have names that actually mean a certain thing in the language, such as Yanar means to protect, and Abam means to attack. These two names will actually stay the way they are. If you are calling out to somebody to help you, you won't necessarily hear Akunaaya, you'll hear help me, unless they are specifically summoning an elemental beast. The alphabet is actually a bit of an interesting situation. I personally created the alphabet as one of the first few steps that I want to do. The only things that were actually cemented in format at the time, before I created the alphabet, were things like the 9 elements, as well as Ernon, and I believe that Zidon and Badon were already in the works. However, they were not completely cemented until after the language had been until the alphabet had been created. I won't be showing the alphabet for a few reasons, but know that the alphabet is actually very interesting. And they also only have a symbol for each of the letters. They also, of course, they do have period and question mark, but they don't have an exclamation point, which is actually kind of an interesting thing that you basically have to figure out yourself how they're emoting with this, which usually you will be able to tell some aspects of that due to the fact that sometimes what they will do is, when writing, they will put an elemental symbol at the end to explain how you're supposed to read it. For example, the word Fernon actually means two different things in Aceio, either fire or it can also mean heat. When spelled with the fire symbol at the end, it will actually symbolize that it's actually the word for fire. If the fire symbol is put at the end of a sentence, right above the period, you'll know that you're supposed to read it angrily. The person is angry as they're reading this. Primarily because of the fact that if you say Fernon, it just means heat. But if you say it like Fernon, that would mean fire. And it's a similar situation with almost all of the Aceio words, with the only exception really being Lernon, which can be sounded anyway because it will any way you want it, because that word simply means light. There is no other word that also uses its name. And the same also goes for Durnon. However, they will not actually use Durnon for anything for a separate reason. While Lernon is used because it is a quote-unquote holy word, Durnon is almost a curse word, which is actually something that I do want to bring up, is that there really aren't that many curse words in Aceio. In actuality, there are only 3 words that are considered so bad that you would not want to be heard saying them, unless you are saying that something is awful or something along those lines. These 3 words are, of course, Durnon, which means darkness, Zonderlich, which basically is saying that this is the worst. It's equivalent to saying the F word, but it's not it doesn't have the same meaning. Know that. Like I said, I will be going into the origins of Zonderlich in next week's book culture, but today you're not getting that. So, like I said, those 2 words. But then there is something that is kind of a weird thing. It is an insult. Basically, when you can call somebody Changenoid Za, which literally translates to Changenoid poop, which is actually kind of interesting because it's actually there are a few differences between how you say Za. Usually, when you say Za with a ZA, that means poop, I believe. Yeah. Yeah. I should be correct. Yes. But with an XA, it actually means complete, which is one of the reasons why the word Zanakul is actually, when Sting says that, he's actually saying complete truth, which basically means that he is going into his completely true form. So, there is that. But remember that you want to be careful with how you say the word za, because if you say it wrong, then you could be in a lot of a bad situation. Something that is interesting is that sometimes you'll hear people say za changenoid za, which would mean that you're complete changenoid za, or complete changenoid poop. You won't ever hear somebody say Zaza, because that sounds weird and can often be confused. Because somebody saying that could actually mean complete poop or BS, but different things. Very rarely you'll hear that ever said, though, so don't worry about that. But like I said, hopefully that helps you understand the Aceio language a little bit more. I will be tackling more about the Aceio language in the future on my other channel, which is Intrepid Books. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think of this week's book culture. And anyways, guys, I've been Electro Ninja. I will see you guys next time. But on.